Thanks for joining us once again. Our focus today is twofold. Number one, a review of the Sacramento fleet for Tesla. And number two is sort of a pre-earnings review for Tesla. And so we wanted to welcome you into the conversation. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Thanks once again for joining us. If this is your first time, welcome. If you're a repeat visitor, welcome back. We also want to thank our Patreon supporters. If you enjoy the show and would like more information regarding better investing and trading, please join us. And without further ado, let's move into our show today. So the first item I wanted to cover is the fact that there is a couple of pieces reviewing the fact that the complete fleet for Tesla in Sacramento has now been finished. As you know, there were 39 vehicles originally delivered in this block to the folks at Pepsi and then their subsidiary Frito-Lay in Modesto. I have to say that I'm a bit surprised that this is news, only because I actually thought the vehicles had already all been delivered, but it's nice to see a completion of that initial thrust of vehicles. This actually brings up a number of questions like, wait a second, if those vehicles were produced December-ish, maybe into January, and then delivered in perhaps groups of 10 or 20, it's great that we have that 39 number right now, but it kind of seems like if we're at a 40 vehicle per month situation, we should actually be now, sitting at the production facility in Reno with another between 40 and 100 vehicles currently, which would allow the folks at Pepsi to get fully up to their 100 complement, if not start of delivery for other vehicles. So we look forward to what the answer might be on this as we get into earnings. But as of right now, perhaps I can see why we didn't get any separate announcement of production on the Semi, given that the numbers are so low. They're not really materially impactful on Tesla's earnings. The next thing we wanted to look at is sort of the main topic of the show, which is the $250 price target that we're coming up with for Tesla's stock price, a week or two after earnings. So, as you know, we've been sort of tracking this. Well, what's going to happen with earnings? Now, if you wanted to do some quick math, the usual process for Tesla is to multiply the number of vehicles produced and sold, which in this case is 420,000, times 60,000 vehicles, the average price per vehicle for Tesla. And then we get the revenue, and then you sort of bake somewhere around 25% margins, between 25 and 30% margins against that. Well, as you know, we have at least 4 price cuts that have gone on, and the price cuts haven't been sort of divided equally, more for more expensive vehicles, less for less expensive vehicles. So what this all leads us to is the fact that we're on the edge of our seats, because one of the main focuses of Elon/Tesla since the inception of the company, but definitely over the last couple of years, is how can we find ways to get overall costs lower? The answer to that is economies of scale. The answer is vertical integration. There are a lot of answers that Tesla has come up with targeting lower costs. Now, this is the first opportunity to really test the supply chain to see if Tesla is able to deliver good, not necessarily great numbers as we head into earnings. Now, the early answer to this is that I'm actually sort of pleasantly surprised. We're at $182 a share. We know that earnings are going to be, the earnings number, raw number is going to be decent, but the problem is that with the price cuts, not necessarily for this quarter, but for the incoming quarter, we probably see a lighter number coming in. So the issue is, what surprises could help us boost this revenue number into the quarter? The answer is we have a lot of other revenue streams. The biggest one being the mega packs. They're being installed for customers around the globe, and the fact that there's a huge backlog for that. So that's one place where the additional revenue might come from to help boost profits. Obviously, there's the insurance business. There's also the tax credits for those not selling as many vehicles. So there are ways, basically, that Tesla could meet earnings expectations and therefore regain the stock price move up that had come with the initial price. Now, the other thing that I've really been focused on thinking about is that if you really, really study what's going on with Tesla, it's Elon came out with a target for what revenue would be by the end of the year. When he gave that revenue target, he didn't attach earnings module to that or a percentage of earnings to that. He just really talked about the numbers. So I thought it was a smart move of Tesla / Elon to finally give us a forecast. That forecast obviously was good because it doubled the stock price. It was also the first time that Elon had made an effort to actually provide numbers with which investors of all types could assess where the company was headed over the next year. So I would say that, we gave a B for the number that we were going to get. And I'd have to say on these earnings, you have to sort of put maybe a B- in there only because we have those price cuts that are affecting things. And we don't know how Tesla's going to make up those earnings given that the price cuts are impacting what's going on. So the next piece of what's going on is that we actually had an opportunity, and you can go back in our earlier shows, to have a conversation with the ex-CEO of Ford, who's now in the private equity space. And one of the things he pointed out is Tesla is in a unique position because they keep adding new vehicles that represent decent amounts of revenue, and those vehicles push the stock price higher. So it's my expectation that we will see, a mellowing out of the stock price probably towards the 160-ish territory. And then as we get the forecast for how and when we begin to see the Cybertruck numbers coming in, that's a decent numbers in 4 to 6 months, heavy numbers in a year situation. But it's a whole new category for the company. And for short-term investors, I think we see that somewhat hit for now. But for the longer-term investors, I see us moving back above 200, possibly as high as 250, if what the Cybertruck number or deliveries are going to look like are consistent with starting in the June-ish period and then going forward from there. So will this happen? Well, we're going to find out, and we're all going to pick through the numbers to see, both from the numeric standpoint and the story standpoint, how Tesla's doing. I'm a real fan of Tesla, as you know from the name of our show. One of the question marks that's lurking out there is something that I call the AMG division. As you know, Mercedes has a super performance division called AMG, where the engines are bigger, etc. And I really think one of the things missing from Tesla's arsenal is having a way for customers to really get an opportunity to tweak their vehicles in unique ways that allow them to further customize. It could be car color, it could be equipment, but that customization would then be warranted, which is a way different deal than having that work done and having it be an unknown about whether or not it voids Tesla's warranty. So I really look forward to what the update's going to be. We're all looking forward to what the update is going to be because We all spend at least a month dissecting what was and was not said, as well as what the numbers are that come forward. Um, there's one other lurking issue here that I think that I'm starting to see from analysts. In particular, the Morgan Stanley gave an overweight rating to Tesla. So if you look around right now, perhaps Moderna, and Pfizer with the COVID drugs, definitely the defense contractors, there are a limited number of sectors that are currently enjoying solid growth and earnings and therefore garnering the attention and support of the marketplace. I would say that Tesla may actually be in that category because even the numbers aren't necessarily a blowout, both revenue based on the production number we saw and earnings. There's a challenge right now, which is finding a place where there's decent growth that has future potential, etc. So don't be surprised if the numbers aren't earth-shattering but are good, and therefore the marketplace can sort of allay their biggest fears and return to stocks like Tesla that are showing solid growth with nice potential in terms of new vehicles, etc. So this ends our formal discussion. I wanted to next get into our health tips. So as I've met with different sort of doctors of different types, I was actually surprised I got a chance to meet with a researcher who's a cancer specialist. And one of the things he shared in his work at the NIH is targeting the fact that there's certain cancers where they may be, if you will, beaten, but give it 10 or 20 years and they're back again. And particularly breast cancer was one of the areas that this is happening in. But he pointed out that there are certain cells that will be in your bone marrow, and as you age, that the changes that happen can release those cells from the bone marrow and cause a restart of the cancer, which tends to be addressed by the same sort of treatment process that dealt with it in round one. But one should not be surprised by this happening. So that's sort of my cancer. The other thing that I've been sort of working on learning more about is trying to identify ways to maintain flexibility. And in particular, there are a number of sort of techniques that one can use. There's stretching, obviously. And one of the things I really like is there's actually a role which I'll bring to the next show for you guys to take a look at. But the whole idea is to do as much stretching as possible because maintaining flexibility is part of aging in an efficient way. So if any of you have any suggestions to make health-wise or in other methods that we've discussed, we'd love to hear from you on that. Please take time to drop a note or a link so we can go over and check out health processes in ways that you maintain. At any rate, this is Greg for Teslafaninsight. We look forward to the earnings numbers so we can move forward from here. Tschüss, German, au revoir, French, lahit, Hebrew, Choda, Hafiz, Farsi, Trazi, Russian, Ni Hao Mag, Chinese, Konbanwa, Japanese, Heido, Swedish. And in Jamaica we say, enough respect, walk good. Arrivederci and namaste.